Okay, so what about me? Penetration tester, one woman army, and yeah, I'm certified as a cover access specialist, physical auditor, elicitation specialist. I like to share learning motivational content on LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube. And yeah, why am I here? I already said I'm like an amazing, kind person, super humble as well, and I like to share my knowledge. And there she is. I want to learn and expand my horizon, and mostly I like to highlight people that are important to me and valuable to the community. Okay, so I introduce myself, and guys, this is Nicole. Can you introduce yourself to everyone because you will do it the best?
Yeah, so I'm Nicole. I'm a mom of four. We have toddlers and teenagers, which is traumatic. I'm a veteran's wife. I've been married for going on 6 years now. Ups and downs. I work two full-time jobs. I own my own business, which we're switching it from LLC to a not-for-profit, so it's kind of in a weird spot right now. Um, I'm still in school for my business management degree. I switched from cyber. I did most of cyber, and then I got to the certifications, and I was like, absolutely not. I value my mental health. Yeah, that's kind of what I really have. I don't know. I work and sleep and cry a little.
Yeah, everyone does that, I think. Okay, so
It's so busy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Am I the only one that gets a panic attack when I get like a Teams message from someone?
I like to talk to people in like gifts and stuff, and no one goes back with me. They just look at me like I'm a weirdo, and I'm like, come on now, just go with it, laugh. It's funny. I'm like having the best time of my life, and they're just looking at me like, are you done?
Oh, you know
I'm
that
just getting started.
I think we should be friends because I talk in memes and gifs as well, so we could bond really fast there.
I do it all the time when I'm at work and I'm like trying to tell them like I think I'm really funny, and they're like, okay.
Okay, my sweet summer child. Okay, but
Yeah, they're like, come on.
did I hear it correctly? Because there are a lot of emotions right now, and I was like still like processing sound, no sound. Did you just mention that you own your own business and you was like starting to grow it, or like just like it's
Yeah. So my business is I built an app. The app is just supposed to help. So like right now we have like a homelessness crisis. There's nobody that's really helping the kids that age out of the foster system, and they said about like 85% of kids that don't get adopted, as soon as they turn 18, they end up homeless. Because they're in these group homes and they don't financially support them. They just and with the like increase of like childbirths that are going to be happening to people who don't want children, we are in a crisis. And like people are moving, everyone is so lonely. Like the world is literally in a tough spot. But I just see like so many people who like when we were younger, we had like a village. Well, now like our village is the people who pushed us off on people. So then we're in a weird spot because we're like the person who didn't want to like be with us when we were kids now have to be with our kids, and unfortunately that is not really being met. So like Christmas with grandma is not really Christmas with grandma anymore. So the whole like theme of Ohana4U is for people to be able to like say, hey, yeah, come to my Christmas. I would love to have a family join us. Or like, let's build our own Christmas traditions and actually like, because we can find like friends. There's like Bumble BFF. There's 1,000 billion dating sites. So I want us to be more than that. So like Ohana4U's main thing is like you want to be able to find a family and not just find love and not just find friends. Like you want more than that. Like, hey, I want to go with you to like a vacation. We can go on a boat. Like because people go on cruises, or I see like those Airbnbs where it holds like 20 people. I'm like, I have six, seven at best. So I was like, well, there has to be people out there who want that too. And there's plenty of groups that have thousands of people on it. And they're like, oh, I wish I could be adopted as an adult. And that's a really awkward conversation to have. Like I used to like have famous people, like people come and be like, please adopt me when they're good to their kids. But like there is a truth to that. People are lonely and people are not getting what they need. So my reason for moving it from LLC to a not for profit is hoping that more adoption agencies would want to work with it. Because they like I worked really hard on the values and the vision and the mission for it to be like something people want to work with. I'm a good person and I think it's important to take care of your employees, take care of the company, give back as much as you can. Um, I had to do a business simulation class and they're like, don't spend any money on marketing and don't buy everything for your employees. And I was like, we're going to accelerate that. I was like, we're going to give them health insurance. We're going to give them the top pay because that's what is important. At the end of the day, like, if you can, you should.
Yeah, I agree. And I really like that you're like, I'm trying to put it in words. Uh, I think you're like a very good person, and I'm really happy that I invited you. I didn't expect it to be, like, yeah, I didn't know much about you, just like what I see on LinkedIn. So maybe that's just like 1% of who you really are. And I can see that you're so much more than that. And so I'm really happy and like grateful that you're here with me and we are talking. And yeah, yay. So, but I want to like ask about cyber a bit. Is that okay? Because what I understand is you work for a security company. So, can you tell us more, like what is your specialty in cybersecurity and how can others gain expertise in your specialty?
Yeah, so I am one of the few people who never wanted to be a hacker. I literally went in and I was like, this is what everybody joins cybersecurity because everybody glorifies being a hacker. They're like, I want to do it. And like when you think cyber, you're like, oh yeah, I'm really doing major things. But there is like still the blue team effort. There is still people that are like, I have to hire people. I have to make things work. There's the salespeople. There's so much in cyber that people don't realize. My initial goal was incident response. And then I saw my first ransomware, and they were talking about how they have a threat negotiation person. And I was like, that's so cool. I was totally in love with threat negotiation. I do like the cyber intelligence as well. But when I got my first, so I've gone through like all the levels. When I first got into cyber, I did school and then I got an internship. I did the help desk at the same time as the internship. And since I joined tech, I've worked two jobs almost the whole time. It's exhausting. But my husband, after he deployed, he's been like struggling to find work, and everyone can feel that. That is, everyone is struggling. I'm constantly giving like career tips. That's one of my major like contributors. That's how I contribute to cyber. I take people, I find out what they are looking for, and I like try to help them get those skills and continue growing those skills so I can be like, hey, this is, you have to take a top three things you like and you have to really focus on like, what can I do to make it better? Because if you're laid off for 6 months or 12 months, you should be a totally different person. And it should not even take you more than 4 to 6 months to hone any skills. Like you could literally learn something new every single day if you wanted to, and if I'm working two full-time jobs and I'm going to school and raising a family and being a present wife and still cleaning and still kind of cooking, I'm not good at that. But I still am very involved in my family. Like my job allows that and that's wonderful, but I'm exhausted. Everyone tells you like you get in, you join help desk, you go to a SOC and you're just in cyber and that's it. And it's not that black and white. Every role has its pros and cons. And coming from a blue team, working in the SOC is crazy. I don't think that should be entry level. I think it's extremely overwhelming unless you have the people to do it. And I know that's controversial because they're like, oh, well, that's technically entry level. And it's like, no, entry level is an internship, which we don't have enough of because these companies are laying people off and sending out like overseas their roles to overseas. And they're like, it's cheaper. You can do it, have an intern do it for the same price because they are so desperate for an opportunity to get their foot in the door. If I could change anything about cyber, it would be the fact that like you have the opportunity to get people trained up and then you just don't, and then you complain about, oh, there's a skill gap. It's your fault. You have the opportunity to change that, because when you're in school they teach you all of the different like terminology, but you've never sat in front of CrowdStrike and had a quackbot. And I did that, and I felt so stressed out after I saw quackbot the first time, because you look at the detection and you like search up the like you search up everything. You're like, oh, I'm gonna check the URL. I'm gonna go ahead and check the hash. I'm gonna go ahead and see if there's any reputation. I'm gonna follow through the tree. And then it looks good. You've gone through like so much of the tree, but the tree for Quackbot is so far. My boss and I at the time spent like I think 40 minutes going through the tree, and that's where we found the malware. And as a person who sees thousands, like when you work for managed service providers, you're having thousands of detections. You're like changing that to allow the rules to get less of them. But then, like in your head, you're like, what's going on in the background? You're like, what did we really clear? What can get by? Because you can't just make rules and just know they're always going to work. There is a high chance that you have gone ahead and automated. I say animated. You've automated like a process that can still turn it back. Because all you have to do is go ahead and use like what you're safe. Like for example, hackers, they're always going to hack what's used the most because they want to do the most damage. And it's what's most used. It's what's most available. It's like if you have Teams on there, everyone uses Teams. That's what you're going to want to go ahead and use as like a main source of something you want to break. So people are constantly like learning new ways to break things, and they're hacking everything because the script kiddies really want something to do. But they want to show like, hey, I'm valuable. Give me a job. And there are half the people that are ethical, but then there's a lot of people who are desperate. We are in a world where everybody is being laid off, and the people that are being laid off are so skilled. Like you just literally put the best people, like if you were to lay off the military, you are putting that like country in danger, because you're like, these are the best of the best. These people know everything about everything everywhere. So when these large tech companies are like, all right, we had a very successful month. Now we have to go ahead and get another successful month next month. I want more success. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the people that we pay the most money to. And it's like you pay them the most money for a reason. You've
Yeah.
taught them all of your stuff. You've given them all the passwords. They know every tool you use. And you're just going to say they're not valuable. Like that is so offensive and stupid. And I mean that in the rudest way. Because they're your biggest like security. Like you
That's the
literally
asset.
have frontliners. Yeah. Like you are nothing without that. Like you want your main top people that know the most, because that's your secret skill. Like these people are like, I could do it cheaper. Cheaper is not always better. Like everyone knows if you have like you have to do what you have to do. And I understand that, but my biggest like battle right now is the fact that these companies are making billions of dollars every single year in profit. It's not just like, oh, this is what we made. This is not our revenue. This is our profit. So that means on top of everything, you paid all the bills, you have still made this much money and it's sitting in the bank, and you've decided you want more at the cost of like people's jobs. And it's like these people have families. There's every single day I go on LinkedIn, I really step back a lot, because I go on LinkedIn and it's like moms like, I can't feed my kids. I'm losing my house. Can somebody please donate money so that I can like just sell my house so I can move to another country? I can't do anything. I feel so helpless, and it's like these people are just sitting on $1 billion and they're not donating to these places of these people that they put in these terrible spots. Like, hey, we laid you off like 2 months after you bought a house in the country, so we're gonna give you one paycheck. Like, what does that do for anybody, especially when it's so hard to find a job? I can't even give people advice on what to do to find a job, because 2 years ago, I would have 25 interviews like per week. Just like, hey, can you meet with me after I just put in like 100 applications? You get like 25 interviews with barely any experience. Like the top and the best of the best are out of work for so long now that it's like, how do I help them? And it sucks because they're not looking for skill, they're looking for cheap. And how do you compete with somebody in another country who like is willing to do 10 years, 20 years, 30 years of experience for $10? How do you compete with that?
Yeah,
So,
I do know what you're talking about there. And but I felt like a bit because I am from another country and I work for Black Hills, so so I was like,
yeah, but
but
no,
yeah,
I get that.
yeah,
But
no, no, but
like they
I
pick
know what
the
you were
best of the
saying.
best.
Yeah, I know what you were saying, and they went after me. It's not like they went because I'm cheap, because they went after talent. So that's different. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
And
know what you're saying. But
yeah,
I wanted to
exactly.
ask if you could maybe you have an idea. I know it's really difficult, and I have like a lot of friends that are out of the job. I'm trying to help as much as I can, but I can do yeah, I cannot do enough. Like it's not much I can do. That's proper English.
Yeah, how can you help? So, I feel like what we can do that really you can't help them all. I mean, at the end of the day, people have college degrees, they've gone through Tri-Hackney, they've done TCM security, they've done all these amazing things that they're told to do, and you get 50-50. You get people who are willing to put in the work, and then you get people who are going to talk about doing the work but not doing the work. And that sucks. You have to like as you're learning, like your network is your biggest asset, and it's the cheapest thing to do. Like as you're learning, like, hey, I learned about X, Y, and Z today. Hey, anybody got any tips for this? Like when I first started in cyber, if I had any questions, I could literally make a post and somebody would answer it. I'm like, have you seen this? And like someone will literally hop on, and of course they'd argue with each other because someone else thinks something. But right now we're in a weird spot. You could be the best of the best, and companies will hire you because they say you're too qualified. Like people are not leaving jobs right now because they find better opportunities. They are desperate. Stop telling them that. Like you want good but not too good. That's kind of weird. Like if you say, "Hey, this is," I think a lot of jobs would have more success if they really put their salary expectations out there. Because they're like, "Oh, well, maybe we won't be able to afford them." It's like, well, if you give them up front, "Hey, I need you here for this shift at this like, these days." Like okay, they want us to be able to tell them everything about us, but they're only going to give us an ounce of what they want from us, which is crazy. I would rather work two jobs paying $20 an hour than work no jobs because they thought I was worth $40. So, like, that's half the battle. If companies can start to understand, like, really, we don't want to take away the value of working in cyber. We've worked our butts off for this, and we really want to make sure that, like, people understand, like, yeah, it's expensive to go to school, it's expensive to live, it's expensive to eat, but you're just in a weird spot where it's like companies are refusing to pay for things. Then they get hacked and they're like, "Oh no, no, I got to give out millions of dollars." um, and it's crazy. And so I really live by the starfish story. It's where you can't save them all, but each one makes a difference. I literally like when I see somebody and they're like, "Oh, these are the skills I have. This is the location I'm in. This is my situation." I make a note of that, and I have a handful of people at all times that I send jobs to. I tag and post, and then they're like, "Oh, I got a job," and then I just take them from my brain and I just throw them out, and they're like, "You got a job. You're good. I did my part for that one starfish." But you can't save them all. You just have to do what you can do with what you have. I think working in tech, we are very fortunate that we have the extra money to make businesses. And that's what a lot of like lower level jobs aren't going to be able to do. You're not going to have that little extra money to do what needs to be done to make the small businesses, to start the new companies, to like invest in other people. And it sucks because what do you say to people who literally, how am I going to eat tomorrow? When, there's people here who are still so hungry to make another $1 billion. And I think of it like I don't know if you see those games like on the phone where they're like you have a guy and he's working like his pizza, he's building the pizza boxes, or he's working the cornfield, like he has like a little farm set up, and it's an ad. I never really got to play it, but you see these ads and he tells you have to hire the people to take care of the corn that's coming down. You can make a machine, but then someone has to load the trucks, and then you have to have enough trucks, and you just see like the corn stacking up, stacking up, stacking up. and then it just overflows and the company fails. And that's the United States right now. Like this, like 10 people have all the money and they just keep taking the money, and everyone's like, "Oh, but I need a job." And they're like, "I need a better month." And it's like, "What do you mean you need a better month? You have thousands of people who can't feed their kids here, but you need another $1 billion to sit in the bank?" That does not make any sense.
Yeah, it's
Like you
like
need to
we need maybe more kindness and less greed there.
yeah. Yeah. It's it's disgusting and it's disappointing cuz it's like I couldn't even imagine, like, all I don't want to be like rich or anything. I just want to know that all my bills are paid and I don't have to, like, at the register when I'm going to the store, like, holy crap, do I have enough to afford the groceries? I do not want to have to check my bank, or I don't want to have to say, all right, I'm going to pay, like, there's like a lot of like movies where they're like the guy, he's complaining like, oh, you spend all my money, to his wife. The wife, if she's a stay-at-home mom, he's like, you spend all my money. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pay the bills to see where it goes. I think it was like Everybody Loves Chris, where she's like, okay. And so he pays all the bills, and they don't have the money for the groceries or the light bill or like the car insurance. And these are like vital things. And he's like, well, I paid what I could. And she's like, yeah, you paid what you could, but we have a process here. Like, I pay half of the mortgage for this paycheck and half for this paycheck so that I can afford at the beginning of the month this one that's going to be turned off. And I have to stretch it out for a reason because we don't have enough to do it all. And so then they're in a weird spot because they have no savings and they have no extra money until 2 weeks. Then you're like 2 weeks with like no water or no lights because the dad was like, I could do better than you. And I think that's like the whole thing with like Tesla too, is like he came in and he cleared house and then he was like, so who pays the light bill? You do. Now you took that job over. And so you have to really like understand, like, people do what they do for a reason, and if you're good at it, it doesn't matter if I want to get coffee every day if your lights are on. So leave me alone and just let me do my job. I think it's silly when you look at it because they're always like, I could do better, and it's like, do you understand the struggles we have? Like, I don't know. It's a hot take.
And what do you, because yeah, like, is there like a good answer to like how can people gain expertise in your specialty, and like maybe what kind of like character traits do you think that will make them more successful? I don't know, the job market is a bit broken, so I'm not sure there is a good answer to that. But in your like best opinion, like what do you think?
I think people, if you have the opportunity to work in person, so this is, I haven't had to apply in like a year, so I don't know what the market looks like right now. But as a person who's been through three layoffs, and well, two layoffs, and had to get three different new jobs from it during like this weird world that we are in, you got to be cautious because there's so many scammers that are looking for desperate people to take advantage of and get their information. And they're like, oh, I'm going to send you a check, you go buy your like computer, and that is a scam. Like, it's very important that people are due diligent, and if it seems weird, it probably is weird. So right now I work help desk as a supervisor on my night job, and then I'm a project manager by day. But I'm also a business analyst by day too, because I do like both jobs because I'm between clients. So like, I changed my role, but I was in a big client, so I'm sticking with the big client until that project ends as well. So now there's two jobs. But this isn't just because I'm greedy. This is because literally, like, I moved from like a big city to the country, and the bills are crazy. Like, you have to be determined. And you have to like really, what I tell everybody, you have to figure out what you want, and you have to really get those skills up there. You need to talk about it. You need to meet people. You need to ask. So
So be
your
proactive.
world is, yeah, like what you plan is probably not going to happen. Like, I had all this idea. I would have probably never left my first company in the stock because I loved it. I loved my team. I loved the benefits. I loved all of that. And they made me like, that was my home. I was like a total wreck. But you can't get comfortable. I have experienced like that was a small company, but it was a managed service small company, and there was holidays where you're working by yourself after you just started there, and you're like, oh my god, I'm getting all these detections. They look important. What do I do? And then you wake somebody up, and they're like, it was nothing. That's a crappy feeling. But you have this idea of like what is going to be your world, and what you're good at isn't always going to be what's going to happen. So like when I got laid off, that was something making me so uncomfortable that I had to go somewhere else, because I never would have left. I had like people I can call in the middle of the night, and they would wake up with their child and come to the computer. They're like, I'm feeding the baby, how can I help you? But then there's other companies who value their customers more, and they would never let you like work from home, or they would never let you come to the computer with your baby, or like they want you to send like professional stuff. So you just have to determine like what you're good at and what you want to do and what the company's going to be like. So I have like experienced the business side, the technical side, the customer side, and everyone has their challenges. And if you're a tech person, you probably don't like to talk to people. Most technical people aren't people, and most people aren't technical, but there's people in the like secret sauce who you can grow the technical side. And so you just have to take your skills, and you have to talk about it, and you have to like grow them, and you have to figure out where you want to go. You have to look at all the like, hey, this is what I'm good at, this is what I love, and determine your situation. Do you want to do what you love, or do you want to do what you're good at? And if, you got to find the middle spot of what pays well, what provides you with the best work life balance, what provides you with like mental health support.
And
Like,
what, in your opinion, I'm sorry, I'm like in the middle of there. What, because you said like you have to determine, is that a good company and you want to work, something like that, you want to work there. So how can you determine during the interview? You just like interview them as well? How would you do it? Is that a
it
good
goes.
place for you?
So I have a secret sauce that like when I'm gonna work at a company, I try to see like I Google everything. Like I have the curiosity mindset. I want to know as much as I can know. So I think like you really can gain a lot of experience by somebody who works there. So when I'm gonna apply to a job, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna put an application out there. This is something I'm technically really good at. You want it to fit at least 60 to 80% of what you know already that you can do, and that 20 to 40% you can really grow with the company, because nobody needs to know everything. You just need to know how it works for the most part. And there's a chance you're not going to get called back. But once you get that call back, I always look for somebody that is in that same role that I'm looking to get into, or especially at that same company, as close to that role as I can get. And I ask them, I'm like, how can I and LinkedIn is hit or miss. You're going to message some people and they're not going to respond. But you don't want to just like put all your eggs in one basket. Message a couple people, add a couple people, and then message them like, hey, what do you love about the company? How can I make sure that I make a good impression? What is your boss value? And then I stalk the hiring manager on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I see what they like so I know what to talk about. I research the company and what it says in their ad, and what their like mission is, and what like how much they hold those values. Because there's some companies that just throw something out there and it's whatever. But there's a lot of companies who are like, this is our vision, and usually they go every year and they're like looking at their values, and they're like, do we stick to these values? Should we change these values? And how do we make sure we stick to them the most? Because it's like we want to make sure. So like at Guide Point, we have a thing where it's like no a-holes. And that was what drew me to the company the most. I was like, I love that because I deal with a lot of those. And so it means really like we don't tolerate that. You like literally have people who will try to like bully you, and your boss is gonna have your back. You can send your boss a message, and they'll be like messaging the client like, hey, we are the people that are your professionals. We value your business, but at the end of the day, like you have to take care of our people too. And that's where it really comes down to. Some places value customers, employees. Yes, jeez.
Bless you.
Thank you. I don't know if it muted. I hope it muted. But Um, yeah, it just, you have to find the company that has the right values. If you're just like, generally companies who value customers don't pay very well. And so when you, as a business, you have to look at what you offer. Like, cause I've seen different levels. So like, I see a lot of turnover at certain jobs, and you're like, all right, so we can't keep employees, which means we can't get quality employees to stay, and we don't have the money to pay them. So what do we do? Well, you have to find external benefits. Like, you have to find good workers. You have to uphold that standard of like, no, you're not going to bully. Because I worked in healthcare for 10 years before I came into tech. I had to delete all history of that because LinkedIn doesn't tailor your job suggestions unless you remove like previous fields. It kind of puts it like, I'll just suggest all this. Like, they really wanted me to be a lab assistant, even though I said I was not looking for a lab assistant job.
Yeah,
And
they
even though
really,
I have, yeah,
sorry, they really want me to be a Java developer or like a tester, like still. Although I don't work with that anymore, like years. So it's
yeah,
funny.
yeah. And it's like, I literally said that's not what I want. Why are we having this conversation? Why are you giving my people my number? But when you work in healthcare, you're like put through dramatic experiences, especially like for me, I worked night shift when I worked in healthcare, and they were bullies, and the bosses backed the bullies, and there was so much turnover that, yeah, your top 3 people who kind of suck at their job and are so lazy they don't do anything, they're like giving them all these benefits. Like, you make everyone feel so bad, and everyone's quitting. And so you're just keeping your 3 friends here and not telling them they need to do better. And we're losing people and we're not getting quality employees. So I did not want to go back to healthcare. And it's like being reminded of where I came from, and like I get to work from home, so I sometimes can take a bath on lunch, or sometimes I can go lay down and take a nap. Like, having those benefits really makes a huge difference in your day.
Yeah, actually, what I to answer my own question from before, like how did I do uh, check if the company is good for me? Because actually the environment is like very important for me because I used to work in like super toxic places. So
Yep.
I actually did that during the interview. So if they were like really like mean to me during the interview, yeah, I probably don't want to work with you, you know, or like where they have like like strange demands during the interview. I have wild
What kind of
stories.
strange demands have you had?
Like I have really wild pen tests that I have to go through last year. Oh man, I have stories there, and I'm like super grateful and like happy that I didn't get hired there because like something better was waiting for me like at the end of the like horrible experience that was the job market and being on it and having you know like calls from recruiters.
Yeah,
Yeah, so okay,
it's so
let's move
funny.
on with our lives now and okay, now you can tell me like your stories because I have a good question for that. Can you share any interesting or challenging stories from your experience as a project manager? Without
There,
like disclosing any like secrets, obviously, you know.
so like being a project manager in like IGA, it's difficult because you don't. So there's different software lifecycle development processes that, like, there's agile, and then there's the waterfall. Waterfall is what a lot of traditional companies are expected to know. So like they really like, when I did engineering training, and then we kind of figured where the need was and the skills were more in project management, and that's what the company needed, so that's where I went. But I also understood that there were certain parts of like an engineering process, because the engineers are what cause your company to be successful. You come to the company for a process, and then the project manager is like just pushing them and pushing them. So with me having like that unique skill set of, I've seen what needs to go through the process to make the process work. So I struggled with the fact that like I really need this part. Like, you have the authoritative source, and you're like, we need to start there because that's where we get all the information that's going to go to the other applications. And we've had projects that didn't go that way. And the companies are expecting like waterfall, where they're like, you have to go through all these steps. We're not doing anything. We're not approving anything else until you have gone through and did the step before. And so there's a lot of fight between like making people understand that the way they're used to doing things is not the way this process is going to go. Like it might be your policy to check everything and then go to the next level. And with waterfall, you can't go back. And that's important that people need to understand is like you need to do agile when you're doing something like this, because say we need 10 teams, but we can only get a hold of 2 teams. We're not going to hold off on the whole project until number 1 comes if we have access to 3 and 4. So we can move on, prepare the whole like platform for 3 and 4, and then when 1 becomes available, we'll take care of 1, and then we have 1, 3, and 4 done. And if 2 is very hard to get a hold of, you can go ahead and you're like, all right, now I have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we can keep going down the process until everything is set up. And like that's why IGA is like extremely difficult, because it's like you're meeting with a lot of people. You have to meet with the vendors that's providing you the tools. You have to meet with your specialists, but like keeping track of where everything goes is very hard. um, but also when you're working with busy people like that, and they're like, "All right, can you schedule me a meeting for Monday?" And you look at their calendar and they're booked until next week Wednesday. What do you do? You know, like this is when you have to go back to them and be like, "No, you don't have time until next week. What do you have that you can move?" And then you have to go down the list of people that are busy and say like, "Well, this is what they have. This is what they have. This is what they have." And there's a lot of jargon there to use that really doesn't come through as easily to say, "Hey, yeah, like this is," for example, like you're going through the process, the engineers are using their fancy words, and you have not learned all those fancy words. And so I'm trying to take notes, and I'm trying to sit in there, and everyone's yelling at each other, and you're just like traumatized. Like I just don't know what happened, and you're trying to process what's happening, and they're like, so what came out of the meeting? And you're just like, mom and dad were
Chaos.
fighting.
Yeah, but like there are like some companies that I actually made note of that because I might forget that some companies do waterfall and like run the tickets in Jira and then do the Scrum meetings and they call it agile, So to me,
Yeah.
like this is interesting to me.
Yeah. And if I didn't take business, so my initial plan with college was going to be I did the cyber bachelor's, and then I came back and I did the business. But I have a very strong troubled relationship with CompTIA. I have the hands-on experience, so I know the way they want things is not the way things are done. And so when you're giving very vague questions to very specific questions, like I need more than this. Like you're saying, like for example with the CIA triad, they're like, all right, somebody came in and they edited like some information. Technically, you've also done confidentiality, and you did not say whether or not they took it offline with what they edited. So it could have also been like the availability. So like I really struggled with that, because like I understand what all of it is, and I should be given credit for knowing what exactly you're asking. However, your scenario is very generic. And that was what I kept like running into, because I know they're saying, hey, somebody edited it. That means it's no longer like upheld with that integrity. And that's what they're pointing you to, like, all right, you edit it. What does being edited for like data edited data mean? And you're like, so the integrity has been compromised, which is all they want. But in my head, I've wasted so much time, because I'm like, why do you not understand that you've also done confidentiality that has been, it's no longer confidential information. They've read it to edit it. So
Yeah,
that
actually,
was kind of where I was at.
I went through the same process as like maybe similar one during taking the Security Plus and Pentest Plus exams because
Yep.
I overthink everything. So when they and they ask you questions in a way that you have to give them the best answer that is,
Yeah.
from the ones available. And actually, if you start like overthinking every tiniest detail in that question, like
Yeah.
three of those,
They're
like,
all good answers.
yeah, they're like, good,
Yeah.
yeah.
So with WGU, you cannot pass your like bachelor's degree unless you've gotten all these certifications. And they're so vague and it's so hard because it's like how am I gonna even get past A plus, part one, part two, net plus, security plus, pen test plus, all within like trying to accelerate in my regular classes. And you will not graduate unless you have like all 10 to 14 certifications they require because that is part of your class. And so I was like, I can't do this. I am only going to school for myself at this point. Why am I putting myself through pain? So I learned all of the initial classes, and then when like I pushed everything to the end that had a certification, I took like 3 certifications, and I was like, I'm changing my major. And that's how I ended up in like business administration and information technology management. There's no certifications, and I only have like 8 classes left. So I will be finished in the next 6 months. I'm in a weird spot where like if you fail, I failed 2 tests by 1 point.
Ooh.
And their retake plan is like so one of the classes has like 9 different parts. Each part they are having you do essay questions for like 20 questions per part. I do not have time for that. They want you to make sure you go through the entire book and have it showing at least 90% of the book
That's
has been
like
read.
torture.
Yeah. And so like A, I'm paying you thousands of dollars to be tortured. B, why am I being punished because of 1%? Like I know this stuff. Just give me like some more time to learn it and get it. And B, like this is crazy. Nobody has time for this while they're working and taking care of kids. And I feel like my brain is stretched so thin because like my night job, we're bringing on new clients, we're starting new tools. My day job, I'm learning a whole new role. And so it's like my brain doesn't have time to learn more stuff.
Yeah,
When do
like
I get to have fun?
they should let you go at 1%, in my opinion. Like it's a human thing. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't know if they know your situation and like if you have two jobs and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that would be a human thing for me because it feels
Yeah.
cruel.
And it's the first attempt too. So you get 3 attempts and then that fourth attempt is when they're like, this is what you really need to pass. I've heard people getting up to 6 times to retake the test, but they usually say after 4 you get kicked out. So it's very scary, but like 1%. So I've gone through a lot. I had 3 classes, 2 of them were like 1%. And so going through all the retake plan is taking longer than I planned. I don't have the energy to be punished. I'm
But
not feeding into their negativity.
I wanted to say a good job for like because you're like a super strong person and very driven. So yeah, that's like very yeah. uh, People should I don't know, maybe if they should look up to you, but like I'm trying to give you a compliment, and I'm struggling with putting that into words, but I'm super impressed.
Inspired.
Yeah, inspiring. So because you're doing that now, but can you tell me more like about your journey? How did you start it in cyber? Like how did all like the interest, where did it came from?
So I grew up very poor. I very very poor. We had finally got a computer and like it was one of those really big ones after we had already started getting flat screens. And so I wanted to work in I'm a very big animal lover. So like growing up I was going to be a veterinarian. I wasn't even thinking of cyber. And then as I got older I was like, well, I really don't want to put animals to sleep. I really don't want to deal with neglect situations. I really want to make sure like I could have that as a fun job that I do as a hobby, but I need to figure out what I want to do to pay my bills. And I want to learn like where I fit better because healthcare was not it. um so I always was drawn to cyber as I learned about it, but like when I first started looking into it, it wasn't really a thing. Like nobody really like talked about having cyber degrees. Like actually I started out at Ashford University and they told me I had to do healthcare information management to start out because they didn't really know about cyber at the time. Thankfully, they forgave all those student loans because that was crazy. But like the classes, they weren't prepared for a technical degree. And the classes really sucked, and I did not have the time for it. I've worked 2 jobs most of the past 10 years. So I was like still in school, still working in the lab at night, still going ahead and working as like a server and delivering newspapers and working at a gas station. I've done it all. I literally would change in the bathroom at some points because I was working in the lab, and then it's like, all right, time for you to start the night shift at the gas station. And I'd change into my uniform and go work there selling cigarettes and fighting with truck drivers. And it was exhausting. But then I would have like 2 or 3 hours and then I'd sleep, and then I'd have to drive back across like it was a 40-minute drive to work in the lab. Um, but I've always been driven. I've always been motivated. I've always wanted more for myself. So when I first started, I started in food microbiology, and I was like, I have to make more than $14 an hour, especially if I have to get a degree to work and make $14 an hour. So then I was like, well, I need to switch to healthcare micro because that's the only way that you get like a pay bump. And so I went through phlebotomy school because they wanted someone to show like, hey, you're driven, you want to learn like some type of healthcare stuff. So then I did that, and then I got into data. Like I was putting in all the orders for all the hospitals because I was always working in central labs. So when I left healthcare, or when I left food, I went to healthcare, and like you had to work a year doing like all the lab ordering and learning all of that. And it was a lot. I had to keep growing and growing. So then once I finally like got my first big break, it was at a help desk, which I'm still at 3 years later. Which I got promoted like really quickly. I think it was like 8 months in, I became the supervisor for a night shift. We didn't really have bosses before me, so it was rough. Now we have like, so I'm the junior lead, and then we have a senior lead, and then we have a manager and supervisor, and like there's levels to it now, which is great. So it was good to see the company grow, but that doesn't pay enough for me to work just the night job. That pays like my mortgage almost. So I'm like, I can't just work here. So then I got my internship, and I loved it. It was the greatest experience because it was at the Shed Aquarium. So I got to do cyber stuff, and I got to work with animals, and I was geeking out on it. It was like the best of both worlds. I would work all night, and then I'd be like so excited to drive to work for my day job. Like I'm gonna take the long way to there. Um, but yeah, so I did the whole internship, and then my last day of my internship is when I got into the sock job. They literally offered me a job while I was like on my last day, and I was so happy and thankful because I was like, what am I gonna do? But yeah, so I that's kind of the process. Then I got laid off, and then I worked in a job that was a contractor role. Can't really speak about how that ended. It was not fair, but it is what it is. And then I was out of work for a few months when I was laid off from the second job, and I was, trying to just network and explaining and applying and doing all that extra stuff, and that's how I ended up with GuidePoint. I had a connection reach out, and he's like, "Hey, I want to get you in," and he helped me with my resume. He helped me like really pinpoint my skills. He helped me find like an actual role that fit well with my experience, and he sent it over to his manager, and we had a conversation, and then he sent me to their boss, and they're like two bosses, they decided like who they're gonna pick, and it was the easiest interview process. I tell people all the time I was very fortunate because like it's not typically like that, so I can't really speak for the general process that GuidePoint has because I had a non-traditional experience.
And there is a question in the chat. Do other jobs know about the others? Like,
Yes.
okay.
They sometimes are skeptical because they're like, "You're so tired. I couldn't do it," and I'm like, "You're not doing it." I'm like, "I have to do it. You do understand? I am not doing this for fun, right?"
Yeah.
So I'm exhausted. I mean, Monday through Friday, I am sleeping 3 or 4 hours. I sleep on my lunches. I sleep between jobs. So that I'm like, all right, well, I get off at 7. I have a meeting at 8. I can sleep for 45 minutes, and that's exhausting. It really is, but I normally don't like have like normal people have lunch. I'm like, all right, it's my lunch. I'm finally gonna have breakfast, which I don't even know if it's dinner right now technically, because I've been up for 16 hours. So it's like people are like, have a good day, night, whatever it is for you. Because I work from 10 p.m. until 7 a.m. and then I have a meeting with a client at 8 a.m. So then I go into that 8 a.m. meeting, and then we normally work until like 4 or 5 in the afternoon for the day job. But it's more so sometimes you work later. Sometimes you like it. My day job is extremely like not set in stone of what my day is going to be like. Every single day is different. But my night job, you're sitting in front of the computer waiting for calls. So you're really aware of what the night's going to look like, but every day is different.
Yeah, and you mentioned so like in your LinkedIn profile, like your description says cyber mom, and can you describe yourself as a cyber mom? Can you tell us what that means for you and how it influences your approach to cybersecurity, or like yeah, or your I don't know life or
It's so weird. So that was when I wrote that I was married. I kept getting a lot of weirdos messaging me. And they would like, I would tell them I'm married, and they're like, "Oh, he doesn't need to know." And I was like, "All right, well, I'm married with kids. How does that sound?" I had to make it known I have kids, and so that really helped get a lot of weirdos to stop messaging me. And a lot of people kept like, "Oh, cyber mom, I like that," and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna keep that because I like it." I was like, "I love cyber, and the only thing I love more than cyber is being a mom." So, and my husband, okay, I have to say that he's listening. He's probably like, "Why are you saying that?" No, but as a kid, I always knew I wanted to be a mom and I wanted to be married and I wanted to have a nice house and have a couple dogs. That was always the plan. I did not want to shy away from that. I never had any other ideas, and then I would just build onto it. So cyber has definitely benefited my life. But also I feel like I'm like very motherly to the cyber people too. I want to protect you all.
oh, I love that. And yeah, because you said veteran's wife, also like in your description, how has being a veteran's wife shaped your perspective on security, resilience, and leadership in the tech industry? Or like whatever you want to say about it, it doesn't have to be what I asked because that's like a very curveball
Very
kind of a
professional.
question. Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's really shown me a lot. So everybody thinks like, oh, he was in the military, he still gets paid by the military. And that is a huge misconception. Not every like veteran gets disability, and you only get paid from the military if you work 20 years there. You only get health insurance when you're in active duty, like, or you're disabled, and you have to be a certain percentage of disabled. Um, and like, so for example, they really were like trying to use the burn pits. My husband deployed overseas, and he does not qualify for that because the health insurance is terrible. Which is like a lot. It's I don't know. I didn't grow up in a very military area. I wasn't taught a lot about military. It just was like I grew up on south side of Chicago, where it was like if the military comes, they're probably trying to like hurt us, and they didn't really have you aspiring to become in like a person in the military. You're like, I'm not going to become a soldier. You were never taught like that should be your aspiration, which is crazy because there's a lot of really strong people fighting with each other all the time. Might as well use it for a benefit and learn some like control skills from like what the military teaches you. But I think it would be more beneficial if they knew about it. But like it's so hard because where I grew up, you don't really like get taught anything about like anything. Like you literally are just like most people go into gangs, most people are like in abusive relationships, like they have small little businesses and you work in retail and like you never are taught to like aspire to be more. And I feel like that's why underrepresented communities really need more of that. And that's why like I don't know, they're just not taken care of like they should be. So like with me, like joining something professionally that's never taught, marrying a person who I was scared of like military people growing up because you're taught that they're here to hurt you. Um, and so I really had a lot to learn. And like when my husband, we got married on 4th of July and he deployed in October. And before like your significant other deploys, you have to go to like events and like they teach you how to take care of them when they get back because a lot of them don't come back the same. And you have to learn how to support them while they're away because it's hard on relationships, especially if kids are involved. So you really experienced like I never imagined seeing a female soldier cry. That was very traumatic for me because I was like, I cry when people cry. I cry when people on the TV cry. So I was a wreck. But we went to like what they call the yellow ribbon, and they have you come and they keep you like they offer you a room, and it's like 2 or 3 days of you doing events and like getting to know each other because they want you to have support even if you are kind of spaced out. He was part of a really big like deployment, so there was like I think 300 people that went overseas. And so this is not just like 300 from one base. It was like 10 people from each base in like a 100-mile radius. And so we have a little bit of support, but a lot of people are like focused on their soldier about to leave for several months. The deployment was originally for 18 months. Thankfully, it came back 4 months after because his contract ended and I got pregnant before he left. So he's like, I'm going back to be with my kid. But, you know, it's really crazy that like they teach you not to do a lot of stuff on the internet when you're in the military because you want to keep data secure, and then they tell you to add them on Facebook and message them through the messaging system there. Not just as just an example, but you know,
Yeah.
like your boss is like, "Hey, do this," and you're like, "I don't trust Facebook."
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't put your data on there. But I don't know. They do weird stuff.
But yeah, thank you for your answer. You have a lot of very interesting stories, and I just like I have this like train of thought that I do invite people from around like all kinds of parts of life, and it's I think it's adding to the channel in a way that people that come here to listen can meet like different perspectives on life, and it helps everyone grow as a collective. That's what I feel. And so I wanted, it's like I we're not finished yet, but I just still wanted to thank you for coming and like sharing your experiences
Of
and
course.
yeah, and your knowledge. Okay, and the next question I wanted to ask about the okay, as a business analyst and project manager in cybersecurity company, what are some of the biggest challenges in translating technical security needs into business language? Is that something that you struggle with?
So I don't struggle with that because I have toddlers. I have been a mom since I was 16. So I was still learning to be an adult and I had to explain to a toddler like what the world was. The way I mother is like I am very open. I tell her what's going on with the world. I tell her my opinions on it. I tell her as an open book of what like I'm not going to tell her this is my opinion, you have to do this. I say this is my opinion, this is why I believe this way, but other people believe this way because of this. It's very like like you don't have to agree with me, you just have to understand how I came to what I came to. So I learned very early on how to break things down and how to make it easier for people to understand. I will say, like for the tool right now, part of my engineering training was I had to like create my own like platform or whatever. Like I had to make my own company and like make a fake demo. Um, and so I was really big on like you're using all this professional jargon. I need you to really go ahead and talk to me like I'm 5. I was like, I know you're not Chat GPT, but why are we doing this? Like I need to explain to people why we're doing it because I think when I worked in the stock, I really learned like they want to know the why. The customers really don't care what you're doing; they just want to know why you're doing it. And so the benefit to that is like you really want to make sure that you can explain to them because you want to be prepared for those weird questions. I think it also is a toddler mom in me because I'm so used to why, mom, but why? But if I know why, I can explain what we're doing and the benefits and what's most important to it. So like for example, for the tool I was using, I created their platform using the kitchen. The main thing is access, and you're trying to make sure that like the right people have access to the right things, which is why like the authoritative source, you're gonna think of that as like I need to get into the kitchen, and it's like okay, you're in the kitchen, but you need access to like the fridge, the freezer, and like the counters, so like the appliances and stuff, and you're like all right, so you got three places you need to get into, but you don't want everyone to get into those three places. And like my boss was really impressed by that because she didn't tell me to do it that way. Some people just name it like Fred. And so she's like, I use like I think it like me and her really resonated with one another. She's like, I use like airport when I explain it to people because not everybody has access to everything in the airport, but everyone needs to get in. So she's like, I was impressed that you did that. So I was explaining to like in my project when I presented it to like my bosses and stuff to explain to them how much I knew. I was like, all right, so we get into the fridge, but only certain people can get into the like vegetables. Only certain people can get into like the yogurt and like the dairy even like, so we named it different spots. And so I learned how to request access into the like freezer and how to request access into the ice cream and how to get like all that stuff. So like it kind of all trailed down as like you're doing the mapping for it, and that's like the whole main process of IGA tools is you're trying to make sure that like you can say you know who has access, how long they've had access, and like what they're doing with that access. Like that's really like how you help make compliance easier for other people, but also the job. Like it's a lot of work setting something like that up. But at the end of the day when you're done, it's like I can finally breathe. So it's a lot of people know of IM, but they don't know about IGA, and that's what's different about it is that it really has that like protection for you when like you're being audited and when you're going through those inspections. You're like, oh yeah, Sabian's right here. So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Thank you for the answer and
Tangent.
explaining that. Look, I really like the comparison that you have experiences with your daughter. That's why you know how to explain it to a client. I really like that. Like that was
Yeah.
really nice. Okay. So my next question is. I just had like a thought that I have to learn because I'm reading from a notepad that I prepared previously, but I have to learn to have like a flow with those questions. And so yeah, I digress. Sorry. So I will ask the question now. With your diverse background, how do you approach the human side of cybersecurity? What's one simple thing that organizations overlook when it comes to security awareness, in your opinion?
I okay, I feel very strongly about like making people understand like user awareness. That's like what I hold close and near and dear to my heart because I failed when I worked in health insurance or healthcare micro. I failed security like test, and I was like, how am I supposed to trust the company if you tell me I have to take this training and then I click on the training and you just tell me I failed a phishing exam? How am I supposed to trust you? And they're like, we spelled the word wrong, and it's like, congratulations, you spelled one word wrong, which is what I do on half of my life. I was like, that's not enough. Like, generally, when people are doing phishing simulations, you have to have all the key factors in there. And you have to teach them, like, click on things to see what the link takes you to.
Like hover over it, you know?
But yeah, so I think it would be very beneficial if companies train people part of onboarding. If I could see a perfect world, they would have a fake ransomware simulation as part of onboarding if they hired a lot of people at one time. I think that would be, I don't know. I wish they could do like a fake thing. So like when I worked in the aquarium, we had like a whole room full of people. We would all start at the same time. You'd have like 30 to 40 people starting, and someone comes in, talks to you. They teach you all the platforms. They tell you what your specific job is going to be. But there's a lot of people in that room. Could you imagine if like someone was put inside the like room and they're like, "Oh, can you open this email?" And then like alarms go off and like you get the like TV experience of a ransomware, and then they explain to you like this is what you did wrong, this is what you should look for. They say it's too dramatic, but I think that would be so cool for companies to like make sure everybody knew, because as cyber people, our job is to be inconvenience people. That is
Yeah.
what the teeter totter of cyber is. Either you're gonna have user like accessibility, and you're gonna have like safe and using like easier. I don't know. I don't know how to like they I don't know how they explained it. They said safe and not safe is really what the two sides of like a lot of security like tools are used in their examples as. But it's like it's really down to the accessibility to things. Um Part of like our job is to make their job harder, and we really have to determine how much work are they willing to put into doing things. Because you don't want to have, so like for example, when you're doing the captcha and you have to click on those four squares and you're like, all right, there's a tiny little corner that shows what you're asking me to look for. Is that what you're asking me to click on? Like you're saying, like they show you the whole picture and they're like, all right, pick the light, like that little spot at the top where the light's at. Is that where you're supposed to click? Yeah, it's just putting my lights in the background. But it's like, do you click that tiny little spot, or do you fail the captcha because you didn't click that spot? And that's when you have to determine how much that tool's like range of like, do you need to do it? Because you know technically they're not AI, they know not to click that little spot. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I have those moments with CAPTCHA as well, like when there's like, I don't know, a pigeon or whatever, like show me the
Yeah,
all of the sides of the pigeon, and there's like a little top of the
yeah.
beak, like somewhere, like yeah,
I click
should
the beak. I mean,
and like
technically, it is
and
part
you're
of
like
it.
floating there, like how should I click it?
I
Yeah,
don't
so
even know the answer to that question, to be honest.
yeah, and like the example that you gave, the ransomware training. I see it as you could give people a heart attack there because everyone on their
Yeah,
day,
I
first
know.
day, are already like a bit nervous. But on the other side of that coin, if they will go through that, they will learn so well. They will never make
Yeah,
that mistake in their
I
life.
know
Like,
it's dramatic, but it's so cool. That's why my ideas are crazy.
yeah, it's a good idea. Maybe it needs some working on it, but I wouldn't say it's unnecessarily crazy. I think it's a pretty cool idea. And okay, you already mentioned we started talking about it at the beginning, but I have actually like designed questions for that especially. So founding Ohana4U, can you tell us more about Ohana4U? What inspired you to start it, and how does it connect to your work in cybersecurity?
So it has nothing to do with my cyber stuff. It it's my personal. I don't know what that word was, but there's a word. It's like I'll have to look it up later and tell you guys. But there's all your skills. It's like what you're good at, like what you love, what you need to
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
It's like my
Ikagai, I think something like that.
yeah, yes, it's my ikigai. um, I I have had this idea for so long, and I was trying to sell it to Bumble. I messaged the founder, and I was like, I need to sell you an idea because I don't even care how much you are willing to pay for it. I want to use it. I was like, I moved away. I lost all my family. Like, I need someone to just spend Christmas with me and my kids. Like, growing up, Christmas was magic. And now, like, we make trips out of it, or like, we go, like, just last Christmas, we met up with my in laws in a hotel room and we shared presents. And that was, significant for us. And that was nice. I was like, but I want to have Christmas under the tree and go to someone's house. Now, my toddlers are autistic. So it's like, things with them right now are like not very fun. They are a lot to deal with when we go to events and places. So we would much rather people come to our house. because we do things like based on their needs. But like they say, like a large amount of like mental health comes from being lonely, and like it's a personal decision to choose not to feed into that. I stay very busy. Everyone's like, how do you like? Both of my brothers ended up being like pedophiles. My older brother like ended his life. Like I have experienced extreme trauma, and it's like, how do you still stay positive? How do you continue to keep going? And it's like, well, at the end of the day, I don't sit with it. We are not feeding into the negativity that's in my brain. And it's hard because it's like when it first was happening, I wanted to talk about it all the time, and I had no one to talk to about it. And I just have accepted that life sucks sometimes, and we have to find out what we love and feed it. And there's a lot of people out there who are lonely, and a lot of people in tech talk about their mental health struggles. Um, you're being given this extremely difficult job, and you have to rely on so many people to get your job done that it's extremely like hard mentally. And also like cyber puts you in a part, you're in this like box of I finally made it, how do I appreciate that I made it? Because when you
Yeah.
make your first $100,000 in 1 year just doing something you love with people that appreciate you, how do you justify that you deserve this when you have gone through your whole life of being told you're not good enough and you don't deserve great things? And I feel like that's where like also you struggle with like do I is it, when is it going to end? You're waiting for that other foot to drop. You see all these layoffs. You're like,
Yeah.
how do we make the best out of it, and how do I appreciate this? And like, it's like a strain. Like everything's pulling you and pulling you and pulling you, and you're like, I want to my I like when you're given a certain amount of money, you just continue to have more bills that just keep needing it, especially when you first make out. Like you're finally somewhere, but you still have that large car payment when you had bad credit. You still have all those loans you took out. You still have the student loans coming. So it's like, yeah, like you should be really thankful you're making $100,000, but it's like, it's not enough. And it's like a lot of people have that mental health struggle, and it's like, but you have a good job. Like you have people who love you, and it's like, I can't help. I don't have that like mental health like training to help. I just know what works for me. And I know if I wasn't alone, a lot of my problems would go away. If I had like, if I could just go hang out with my mom, like I'm a good person. 90% of my sadness is cured if I can just go have dinner with my mom and we could just sit at a table and just laugh and be dumb, and I could just see her struggling to eat. So I feel like if I can give more things, like there's so many lonely people that that's what I want to give them. Building my app was extremely difficult because I did have to hire people to make sure that what I was doing worked. There were certain things I did not know, so I had to go ahead. I didn't know money. I'm just barely like, I can pay you what I can pay you. This is my flat rate. Like when I first was getting like quotes, people were quoting me like thousands and thousands, like sometimes $200,000 to build this app, and I was like, that's not happening. Where do you get funding for that? Like, so I ended up like just building the mainframe myself. And then there was certain buttons that I really needed, like APIs to grab from, and I didn't know how to do that. So then I had to hire somebody to go through, and they did not do very well with explaining to me what they did. So it was a lot of like me having to ask questions as compared to them just telling me like, hey, I'm about to leave this project. This is what you need to know. And so that really benefits my job now because I know we are coming in, building this for these people, and then we're leaving. And I've had to figure out it's very hard for me to fire people, but I've had to do it. I hired a lady to do the social media for Ohana, and she billed me for like 14 hours, but she did no work. And it took her 3 weeks to get anything. She put out one picture with the wrong link, and I was like, I need you giving this 100%. And then I hired a girl, and she did great, but she was using a lot of like, they look like ads. And I need somebody sitting in front of here saying, this is what this app does, and this is the benefit of it. Because I think everybody knows like circle surrogacy because she gets in front of the camera and she tells you about it every single day. And so like if you're going online, you're gonna see it on Facebook, you're gonna see it on LinkedIn, you're gonna see it on like TikTok, because she's putting herself out there and she's giving 110% to social media. So just learning what works for the company and learning the different things. Like when I was building the company, I did not know I had to do like a user access agreement. I had to make a privacy policy. To upload it to different applications is a huge pain in the butt. Like my first engineer that I hired, he did really good with like getting it on Google. He did really good with making sure like updates were pushed through, making sure that I did the user access testing, everything like that. But then we needed to like hire somebody else because his skills weren't enough to get it into Apple. Apple is very like pain in the neck. The hardest thing for me was it wanted a screenshot of what the app did, exactly what it looked like on the phone. And I'm like, how do I provide you with a screenshot of the phone when I'm using it? How do I upload it? Like, do I put it in a mirror? Like, is that the best I can give you? Because, and what about when I do updates? If I do updates and I change anything, I have to take the screenshots away. And you need to have screenshots for every single, like, so you need to have one for an iPad, you have to have one for an iPhone, you have to have one for a computer. Like, you have to be able to show all of that of what it would look like on their different sized, like I don't know, tools or whatever. So or devices. That's what I'm looking for. It's like in my brain trying to build it. So I don't have those devices, and I'm like, how am I supposed to tell you what it looks like on those devices? So, and I was the only one who had access to the app. It was just me and the engineer because I wanted to make sure it was very limited to who had access. I'm like, and it's not even in the app store, so how am I supposed to show you what it looks like? So that was honestly the easiest, biggest struggle because once we finally got it, we were like, why did we make that so hard? And they
Yeah.
rejected it 18 times before they finally accepted it.
But yeah, good job on like yeah working hard and having it accepted at the end. That's a success.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just I struggle to push updates because I'm so scared that it's gonna break everything.
Yeah, if it works, don't touch it. Like so. Yeah, I want to give you a hug right now, and like a lot of the things that you just said resonated with me, and I've been through trauma myself, and I've been through a lot last year, like looking for a job and like getting laid off from the previous one because they lost a client, and it did like worked like it did. I will say it like how I think it because I don't know how to put it in like silver packaging. It did fuck with my brain a bit that they went after me that I'm the talent and then I was the first one to go because I was the last one to join the team. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's like my self-confidence suffered there a bit, but I was just I think I will not, like sit here and cry. I just like keep on going forward and like start learning, find a project for myself, and that's how this podcast came to be because I had a lot of energy and I didn't have where to put it. So, uh,
Yep.
and I'm happy to meet you on this podcast as well because. Yeah, when it came to be, I started inviting people like en masse, kind of like, oh, she's cool. I liked her. I used to watch her for like years on LinkedIn. Oh, I have to invite that person as well. So like a lot of people, and then it became like a, I don't know, maybe 6 month long schedule out of nowhere. So, so yeah, we are here and we are talking, and I really want to. Do something for you and maybe you can yeah I can maybe share something about Ohana4U on my LinkedIn profile because I do have some followers, so I hope maybe some people that don't know about it can find out. And because I do feel like yeah we are really lonely, and I have like a super small family, and I do have like this big dream of like maybe as you to have the Christmas
Yeah.
with like a big tree and big family and like feeling loved and like having all those nice dishes and
Yeah.
and it's usually like a super a tiny family around me and like the closest ones, and or
Yeah,
like
it's
me
like you
even being
appreciate
on
it.
my own. I appreciate it because I don't really have it, and it's like kind of like, and I do cry on movies when like they're like people like having that what I really want, or like family hugging you, and like, oh, there's like a story when the kid runs away and
Yeah,
then they find the kid, and then oh, we missed you, or like they say we are proud of you, because my parents were the super supportive. So everything that I have right now is something that I have to work for myself and kind of like parent myself in a way.
yeah.
So yeah, I do understand where you're coming from and yeah, what you're talking about here. So yeah, sending you a hug, like you know.
Yeah, you're my cyber sister. I'll give you my
Yeah.
virtual hug.
Yeah.
It's hard, because it's like you want that, and how do you get it? How do you like? I say it's like the less awkward way to get invited to the cookout, because it's like you you would love to just go tell your neighbor like, hey, I want to be like your family, like, because I live in like a family compound who's not part of the family, and I have not been invited into the family. I am very like bright, colorful hair, covered in tattoos, like bright makeup, and they're like blonde hair, nice car, picket fence, and I'm like, so I like my house.
Yeah, but
I'm not part of it.
yeah, but that's okay, you know, like you are you, and I think that's important. And if they are like
Yeah.
judgmental and like have like a people do like put a label on you, and that's not, you know, like a bit unfair because
They don't see.
they see you from their own perspective that is like very very
Yeah.
limited, and they don't see you like as a whole person. They don't really try to know you who you are. So that's a bit
Yeah.
unfair, but I don't think you should take it. Maybe it's hard because you probably take it a bit seriously, but
No, I don't take anything serious. Except for my kids, I'm very serious
yeah,
about them and my husband. Like I don't have very like people attack me all the time. Like when I first started in cyber, I had some weird guy who like he said I joined his courses and was trying to use me as like his like poster child and was like, "Oh, she took my class and I'm great." And I told him like, "No, I didn't. Please stop using my name for that." And it was a whole thing because he said like nobody wanted me and like I brought no value to a company, and like everyone was pissed about that 'cause they're like, she is just starting out, we are protecting her. And that is like my first opinion on the cyber community. Like, yeah, there's gonna be like, for example, like stars, they read the comments. It's so easy to say something mean. It just takes a few minutes to say something mean, but you have to really think something nice out. And 90% of the time, even if it's 10 people and only one person being nice, you have to choose what you're going to focus your energy
yeah,
on. And like, nobody's going to love everything you do. Nobody's going to be a fan. Like, you're not going to have everybody be your fan. And that's fine. You only need 1 in 10. Like, it's just a small little bubble of people that value you that matters. But like, you know, you'll find more. You just gotta find your club. Look at like they have whole conventions for people who cook. We all eat, but it doesn't mean we all like the same thing. And that's why like Burger King and like McDonald's can like live together. It's like they have the same exact things, but they put different like values into each one. So
yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
I don't know.
yeah, and about the like positive and negative comments, I wanted to, I'm a bit tired, so maybe I'm a bit slow. It's late for me here, but yeah, you have to choose what you take into your heart, and like that's actually good that you're doing that. That you don't take the negative ones, and actually, the negative ones are also in a way good because they maybe, I don't know, let you learn something. Usually, the person that says the bad comment needs to go to therapy and heal. So that's the other side of it. But sometimes there's something that they say that can give you like a different maybe perspective on what you maybe
Yeah.
didn't know about yourself, and maybe you can make better. And I learned from that,
Yeah.
So that's how I look
I
at the
had
negative
that.
comments.
I used to think I used to play this game like Mob Boss. It's like a app on your phone that I was like really into. I don't know, probably like 7 years ago or whatever. And I like thought I was really pretty, like compared to like certain people. Like they were talking about me saying I was ugly, and I was like, I don't think I'm ugly. I'm definitely not the best looking person out there. I don't have like everything, but I don't think I'm ugly. And so he was like, well, why don't you do this and this and this, and maybe then you'll be a little pretty. And I was like,
Excuse
that's
me?
rude, but that was before I'd color in my eyebrows, and I never wore a line under my eye, but I would wear bright makeup. And so I tried it, and I was like, huh, I kind of do like that. Thanks, jerk. So even today, like I don't feel fully made up if I don't have like a line under my eye. Like that's when I would rather wear like eyeliner instead of wearing eyeshadow. And it's not from him bashing me. It's just I tried it. I took like their negativity and I was like, maybe they're onto something. And I was like, I do like that. I was like, I guess there's a perk to this jerk.
Yeah,
See
like
what I did
yeah, yeah.
there?
There was a pun. Oh, yeah, yeah. I really like that you mentioned on your LinkedIn that you like that jokes. I love that jokes. They're like very dry and like sometimes not really funny, but they are funny to me. So
I have the best time with dad jokes. Like there's the one where it's like be square or be there. And I never really like I was like, I guess you know why they say that? Because you're not around.
ah,
I never got that. And once I found out about the whole point of it, I was like, that is really funny.
yeah, they're like really intelligent jokes. So yeah.
He was onto something.
Yeah. So, okay, I want to get back to my question list and I want to ask about empowering others. And I think you have a lot of experience that you could share like into that answer. So, what advice would you give to women and parents looking to break into cybersecurity, especially those balancing family and career?
You just have to do what so there's always going to be more you can do. And that's why I tell people you have to know what you want to get into. Because honestly, what you're like good at and what you're going to get into really is going to determine. So, the biggest thing in cyber, you say I want to join cyber and you ask somebody for help, they tell you two things. Read all this information and they give you thousands of links and you're supposed to find the time while still working a regular job, still trying to be a mom, still trying to be a wife, still trying to do all this. And 90% of people in cyber have a long backlog of stuff they want to learn that sounds cool to them that they're not going to have time to get to. I know you got bookmarks you're never going to get to.
Yeah, I do.
But like the fun isn't going to start until you determine like how to make it start. Like I don't have time for anything, but I'm still going to go on a walk with my kids as often as I can because I sit at a desk all day. Like I don't really have time to do certain things, but on weekends, even though like usually Saturdays when I get off work in the morning, so I get off work Friday night into Saturday morning at 7 a.m., which is why I was not messaging you at 11 o'clock because I was taking a 3 hour nap. But if I take a 3 or 4 hour nap, that means I can't take the kids to the Y and go swimming because I overslept and they close at 4 o'clock. Why did they close at 4 o'clock on the day that everyone's out of school is beyond me. But that is a problem. But you just really have to look and make time for what's important to you. Don't get sucked into like the typical. And I will tell people until I'm blue in the face, there are main things. So if you're applying to jobs and you're not getting callbacks, it's your resume. If you're getting callbacks and they're not picking you, it's your skills. And if you're like coming in second, it's probably your education. Because at the end of the day, nobody can compete with somebody with a bachelor's degree if that's what that company is looking for. You want to check that box, which is why I tell everybody about WGU. If you're getting a Pell Grant, your pretty much tuition is covered. I mean, you'll have minimal student loans if you're going to WGU and you really focus on it. Because the degree is just checking a box for them. It's what puts you ahead of other people. Like, I have seen firsthand people who have degrees and they don't know shit, but they're going to pick them because it looks best to their boss. When you're like, how do I justify hiring this person? And it's like, well, because they have a degree and they have a certification and they have this. When you leave WGU, you're going to have certifications and degrees, and you're going to be able to talk about it. But you can't just leave it as I went to school. Like, you need to go on Try Hack Me, or you need to do like something to hone those skills of like, I've seen this. Because if I could change anything, I would change the fact that like nobody gets hands-on experience with like CrowdStrike or Sentinel-1 or any of those tools until you're in that job. And I don't know why we spend so much money on college if we can't get hands-on experience with the tools we're gonna use.
Yeah.
Like, if I could see a perfect world, I would see CrowdStrike working with colleges, having hackers build up attacks, having them, like another team, go ahead and fighting it. Like, they have the opportunity to build this, and we have to keep doing it ourselves. And you can go on YouTube and you could watch people, but it's just, where do you find the time? Like, you just have to figure out how to balance things really, because it's very easy to get sucked in and like a routine. And really just set alarms and like make a schedule, set alarms, and really try to stick to it, because you will get depressed and you'll want to sleep, and 14 hours will just pass and you could have spent like 6 hours sleeping or 8 hours sleeping, and then you would have had that extra time to study. Set a time like, hey, I'm going to study for 2 hours. When the alarm goes off, I'm going to go and reward myself with a TV show. But after that one TV show, I'm going to go eat dinner because I need to provide myself with the nutrients to do this again tomorrow. Because I am pretty sure most of us forget to eat or we overeat. That's just the black and white of it, because that's how we heal ourselves.
Yeah.
But we're sleeping, we're eating, we're not doing all the physical activity we need. Um, it's hard. It's hard to manage everything when you're in like a role that makes you important, but you still don't feel important too. So being a parent just makes it that much harder.
Yeah. That's like another layer on top of the already hard job, and yeah, wrapping your head around, yeah, that you actually have it, and you really, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm actually like, maybe not in this moment, but when I was that like November, maybe December, that I really got like the job of my dreams, and I couldn't believe that, first month was, I didn't believe that this is actually happening, and that, like, in a way that I deserve this, because I was like going
Yeah.
through trauma still. And then
Yeah.
another month was like a big imposter syndrome, and I'm still kind of like not believing that this is happening for me. But like slowly, people telling me, "Oh, we were like talking about you joining, and like excited about it, and this and that," and like me being invited to conference, and like my first talk on Wild Wet Hacking Fest, when they already like uh, put me on like the biggest stage that I've ever been on a conference, during a conference,
Oh.
and like, oh, you speak now, and yeah,
You're like, what
actually,
do you mean? What do you
like,
mean?
yeah, actually, because like all of the previous conferences put me like in a tiny room somewhere, like among like, like big names, but they just put me as one of the stars of the event, kind of. So it was mind
I
blowing,
talked
and
about that recently.
yes,
Because it's like when we get invited to, so I haven't been to like an official conference for like cyber, but I did get to go to CKO and I geeked out. Even though part of me was like, nobody wanted to hang out with me, I was by myself. I wanted to feel that way because it's like I was kind of like the third wheel to everybody, and I struggled to like just pop in to meet people. But when you're with GuidePoint, it's like everybody makes you feel at home. Everywhere I went, somebody would talk to me, even if like there wasn't plans for me to be there. Like for example, one of our excursions, we went to like an alligator like viewing, and you first get there and you get to see like walk around an animal thing, and of course I'm geek. That's all animals for me. And I got there, but the people I planned to be with, they were put on one boat and I was by myself. And I was like, oh my God, like I already felt like a third wheel this whole time. Like now I finally really am by myself. And people walked up to me and they spent the whole time with me and took pictures of me with animals and like they put me with them. Like I had value and I wasn't in a basement somewhere. And like that, I feel like everybody has to go to their first conference or like event. Like this was 1,000 people who loved working at GuidePoint put together to meet people, and it was sponsored by our clients because they wanted to meet us. And so that was a big deal for me to be part of something like that.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what conferences are like.
Yeah, like for me, like Wild, Wild West Hacking Fest.
Yeah, see, that's
It's like a
4
tongue
times
twister
fast.
for me. But it was a because I felt a bit intimidated because it was my first conference in the States, and also like a big dream to have that experience. And I knew some people already from LinkedIn, and they were like, "Oh, Dorota, I'm happy to meet you." So that was, like sometimes I didn't really connect like the face of the real person, like the profile on LinkedIn, like they didn't really connect who are you. And I was like really
Yeah.
jet lagged. So that was another layer, but also like I met a lot of amazing people that just came up to me and provided support, talked with me, gave me guidance, and like came in to take pictures of me speaking on stage. So I think conferences, like I'm an introverted person that sometimes I don't leave the house for like a whole week,
Oh
but
my God. I would be like needing to go on a car ride. I'm like a
yeah,
dog. You gotta take me out.
so going on a conference can be like a bit, like exhausting to me. Like I feel, like a lot of energy is flowing away from me, and then I'm like, like tired.
Yeah,
But
I told them,
the
I was
other
like, I'm
side
never
is
gonna see anybody.
other side is like that people provide so much value, so much like good energy that I didn't have when I was like a loner there somewhere in my like
Yeah,
basement hacking things. So it's like like pros and cons, but mostly it's like a lot of pros, and I'm like happy to go out and like it's like a lot of adrenaline and like dopamine to be on the stage. And yeah, okay, but now I'm talking about myself. Let's move it along.
I want to hear about you. It's good. And there's this like video, and it talks about how a person pours and pours and pours and pours. Like this guy starts out as like a black figure, and he just gives a little bit of himself and a little bit of himself and a little, or no, he's a white figure and he's taking the darkness from people. And so he's like getting darker and darker and darker because he's taking like all their pain. And then at the end, he's got nothing left to give. And it's like, what do you do? Like, that's what it feels like when you go to places that don't give you what they get. And that's why, like, I say it's so important for places to either pay their employees like enough to deal with the bullshit, or they need to take away the bullshit. And that's the black and white of it, because it's like, for example, like when you work in customer service, people are abusing you. And you are like, you called me for help and you're going to tell me I'm stupid? Like, that is very confusing. Like, your brain can't process that. And then, like, if you go through a day of having like even 10 customers talking to you like you're dirt, you have to do it again tomorrow. Like, people are not going to choose to put themselves through that pain if they don't physically have to do it. So it's like, what value do you offer them in order to make that worth it? Like that's why you really have to come in with benefits or like financial gain, or like like when it comes to like leadership like methods, like it tells you like you can either like force people to do things, you can like talk to them and explain to them why you're doing the things. Like there's different levels of how to make employees do what you want them to do. But then there's like ethical versus unethical ways. And it's like, yeah, you can threaten them and make them so uncomfortable, but they're gonna leave. Do you want people to love to work here? Like TCM security, everybody wants to work there because they're like valued. And they're like, you paid for our health insurance because you want us to be healthy? Like, that's weird. What do you mean? I don't have to worry about if I have $20 left to see the doctor. It's a weird concept of like, or like companies that provide you with like stipends for like your office, or like GuidePoint pays for like my phone bill and my insurance, like, or my not my insurance, my internet. So it's like, they provide you with these things to do what needs to be done. And a lot of companies don't do that. So I don't know. The market value of your company really depends on your people, and it shows in that field. Like you see the tech people, like people love us and we love them because they give us things that make us feel valued.
Yeah, but actually, you mentioned people. I think that's like if the team is great, then that makes it kind of worth it being in the company. Like if it's like
Yeah.
only people and like not money, not like like you're not learning anything, you're not earning anything, then maybe it's not worth to stay for the people itself, to have fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, at least something should be like that you have value back. So okay, but I have a question about something else now. If you had a magic wand and could instantly solve one cybersecurity problem in the world, what would it be and why?
Hmm. I saw this one when you sent it to me, and I was like, I got a list. I think honestly, like I would say gatekeeping,
Yeah,
and I think gatekeeping, because people their lives change when you get here. Like cyber changes lives. Like that's
yeah,
like tech, like things like in tech like this, it changes your life. Like I never would have been able to buy a house. If I didn't work the two jobs, I would not have qualified for a house. And I wouldn't have to work two jobs if it wasn't so gate kept that like my husband could get a job. I would only have to work one job, and I could not even imagine like the mental process of being able to sleep at night or not having to worry like if I were to lose my job and I were to know like yeah, I can work somewhere else if I get fired tomorrow. The amount of confidence that our like community would have in knowing like yeah, we have a next plan. Like we should right now, if someone were to get laid off, they would be in a spot where it could take a month to sometimes over a year to get a new role. Even with skills, even with like education, even with like reputation, none of that will work in the current situation of our industry. And that's terrible. Like because you want to hire people because they're good, you want to hire people because they bring you value, then what else is there? If they're good people, they have good skills and they're good for the company, like why is there so many people laid off? And why are there so many freaking jobs open that no one's hiring for? I noticed
yeah,
a lot of companies, now I understand why they do this, but I don't understand why they do it as well. So companies that hire remotely post the job with a whole bunch of different titles. So say they have one job open. They are posting that job 20 to 30 times because they want to make sure that that specific title is searched. So for example, people who want to work in a SOC, they don't understand a SOC is the same as a security consultant. And that is something that like I understand where they would want to post two jobs for that, but it should be common knowledge. That is most security consultants are SOC level 1 and 2. It's just kind of like I can train you into it. You're going to deal with clients, like depending on how the company handles that. Now, of course, we have all kinds of security consultants, but like for a lot of companies, that's what it really means. But for example, like a firm, they will post for every state that they're willing to hire in the same role, and they only have one role available. That is ruining it because now you have 500 applications for 50 different like postings, but you only have one job. That is a huge waste of everybody's time.
yeah.
Because
False
like
hope.
why are you doing that? Like I understand why they're doing it. I just wish that they understood if you put remote, that meant that that's going to be listed under remote opportunities for the whole United States. Like, or like, I don't know what company it is, but when they have a role, they post a video of them talking about it. Like that brings great value to people understanding because like higher jobs, like Google, when they have job postings, I don't know what 90% of those roles that they're listing them as means. Like they list like crazy like compliance auditing instructor when you could just say GRC. Why are you making it so much harder? There's like 10 fields. Just tell me which one you want it in and what skills you need, because you're making it fancy and that's fantastic, but you're hurting what opportunities you have with people with great skills.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah, for sure. Uh, and also like this, yeah, I do know that some companies post jobs that aren't really open yet because they think they might be open in like a few months, and they just gather the CVs there in the into a database. And sometimes recruiters do that to just have like a big portfolio and like show their feathers to the boss. Like, oh, look, I have so many people I could call for this job. So it
Yeah.
shows like this person as like I'm a very good recruitment agent because I have a big portfolio. But that's not fair for the people that actually applied for the job because I think they have bills to pay. And yeah, it's like like there's some kind of a
Yeah.
disconnect in between like the people that are actually applying and like desperate for a job. They will be homeless in like 3 months if they will not get it. And the other side is like oh yeah, I'm doing that for funsies. I just put the job into advertisement there on the internet because I want my Excel sheet to look cute, like what the
Yeah, like why are you doing, like there's so much work being put in that's just everybody's wasting everyone's time.
yeah.
And everyone is already so stressed out. Like you, like I say, that is the number one reason I tell people that I support spray and pray. That's where like you send your application to thousands of places and you just keep applying. If you qualify and that's somewhere you want to work, put it out there, because you never know. Every like company I've had, I've found new things that I love about the company that I did not know about, and new things that I value from the company. So like when I first started, I never would have known somebody pays for part of my health insurance, so I don't have to carry that burden. I never would have expected somebody to pay part of my HSA so that I don't have to worry about how to afford the doctor visits. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that where like right now, if you have like high deductible, you're paying $6,000 on top of already $800 a month for health insurance. Like that is a lot of money people don't have. And I did not know that's what I was signing up for, even because I thought high deductible HSA meant like you were just paying a higher amount. But you have to pay that full $3,300 dollars before they even pay $1 towards it. And so like I had to get an ultrasound on my stomach because I was having a lot of pain. It was $400 that I have to pay for that just
That's
because I was
wild.
in pain. I would have stayed in pain if I knew I was paying that much money. Like it sucks. And so like you will continue paying 100% of those bills until you reach that like 3,300, and then once you get to that $6,000, then they'll pay 100% of it. So there's like that space where they pay a portion of it between 33 and 6,000. And like you're already stressed out about bills. Like what are we doing?
Yeah, it's not, yeah, I don't want to put it in like a bad way. It's not like I'm criticizing, but if you compare like what is happening in the States to like European countries, you can maybe see that the way the economy of the States is designed is a bit maybe broken, and the healthcare and the education system needs some work because people are like, for me, it's like very like mind blowing and a bit insane to put like very young people through uh, so if they want to get education, they have to get this insane loan, and they start their young lives after the and like graduation with like this rope over their necks, and you have to like tell them you do your best, you have to excel now. But I have this huge loan to pay. I'm stressed out. I
Yeah.
cannot get a
Some
job
people pay
because
like $800 a month for their
yeah,
student
and
loans.
no one wants to give me a chance, and then my belly hurts, so I have to pay a shitload of money and put myself in even more debt. So uh, I don't,
That's what
I'm
I
not,
love about WGU, because it's literally $4,000 every 6 months, and you can work as fast as you can. And I like. with me being in the situation I am, I've been trying to crawl out of this hole of like constant bills that like I take out my max loan, which means at the end it's gonna bite me in the butt. But like that extra like $2,000 every 6 months helps bump me up because I don't get taxes back anymore, which is crazy because I have 4 kids, but I get no taxes back. But when I made less money with only one job, I would get like $5,000 to $10,000 every year for taxes, and now like I owe like $2,000 every
Yeah,
year.
now you need more help actually. So it's
Like great for middle class, it's a great time.
yeah.
It's
Okay,
like not only am I tired, but I'm also poor.
yeah. Okay, next question. Okay, you said biggest I'm your biggest fan in your description. So, uh, who or what are you the biggest fan of in cybersecurity or tech? If that question makes sense to you, because it's
It
a
does.
bit like a strange question.
Like pretty much what do I mean by that? And
Yeah,
that is like, well, like I've explained, is like I go above and beyond for my people. Like somebody needs a cheerleader, and I'm willing to be that. I'm happy to tell you I'm proud of you. I'm happy to say I appreciate you and the work you put in. But also, when you need someone to help you out, I'm gonna be there to make sure that like I'm providing that. Like if I have a way to help you, I'm gonna do whatever I can. I know that like you can't fix people that don't want to be fixed, but there are people who just need a little support. So
yeah,
I'll be there celebrating your wins and be there loving your good posts, and I'll be sad for you when you're sad.
yeah. I'm kind of trying to do that as well because I did have a hard life, and I know how it feels like to, yeah, when your life totally sucks and you don't feel like you want to continue that life. So I do know how that feels like, and although sometimes I'm like over like burnt out or like yeah, I'm struggling myself at the moment, but I'm trying to give my best,
Yeah,
like even on the social media, so others can have like I don't know, maybe some motivation, some inspiration, some relief, because I know a lot of people are struggling right now, and we yeah, life is life is hard. But
yeah,
I'm trying to convey like a message that you shouldn't be like super mean to other people, although you feel like it because you are struggling and you're like in pain yourself. But if you make like a little bit of effort, then and be kind to other people, then maybe you can
yeah,
make someone's day, like and give them hope and like give them like a new perspective, or uh, push them to learn something new and better their life situation and their life. And
yeah,
so it, I do believe like kindness is you can share it for free. It's not
yeah,
like something like it's like put you have to put super amount of effort in it.
yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
whenever you can, I think you should like. And even for me, I used to be like a super negative person because I was, like in pain and struggling. So I used to
Mm.
think like, oh, world is the terrible place, and like this is really hard, and I felt like this is like a ton of weight on my shoulders, and even my body posture like indicated that because I was like, like this, and not like with my back straight and like proud that I'm here. Now I'm like that, but it's like a journey for me, So when I
Yeah,
started like, came up with the idea to, because first impulse is always to like give like a snarky response, but if you put like this tiny bit of effort and be kind, and then it becomes like
yeah,
a habit for yourself, and then you became
yeah,
like how personality changes, and you will rewire your brain, and then you
yeah,
wake up one day and you are actually happy with your life, and things are starting to work out for you, and like if you rewire your brain, then I think the world will smile back to you. I do believe that, and like good things will start happening to you because you put yourself in like a different. I believe it's like a kind of like a ladder. That's how I
it's like
imagine it.
an IQ balance, I think, too.
Yeah,
Like
and
really
if you
smart people are mean. And they
not
don't mean to be. but you have to come back and realize, like, yeah, you're smart, but you're still human. So
Yeah.
it's like you get all the way up on the ladder and you're like, oh, you got to come back down a little. You can be smart and you can forget about the skills that are important to still be valuable.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying. I'm almost at the end of the list, so it's like maybe 10 questions. But uh, yeah, I'm trying to focus. Uh,
Pick your favorite
okay.
three, and then we'll call it a day.
Do you three questions?
Yep. Pick your favorite three.
Okay. I've already started asking that, so let's make it this one. So, do you think a college degree or certification is necessary to become a cybersecurity professional? Before you answer, I will give my own answer because I believe, like, okay, you don't need some degree probably, and you need some certification because the clients wants it, but actually, if a company is willing to teach you those things, like what are like necessary for the job, I think the most important thing that you have to have is like a good personality, willingness to learn, and like a drive. So I think maybe those three things, maybe like maybe two more, so be not be like a not argue with everyone, not tell like or not be addicted to like your colleagues, and that's already like a good employee, and everything else they can teach you, but like please tell your answer here.
No, I love hearing your part of it too. I want to see your perspective as well. I do think that it does not bring value to have a degree, but I do think that it is unfortunately important. I had made it to the several rounds and got to the final round. It was down to two people, and they always pick the person with the certification or they pick the person with the degree. And that's really what determined why I did not get the job for several places. So you honestly want to have the personality. That's what's going to get you in front of the people. But unfortunately, when they come down to it and they're looking at paper, who they're going to pick, they're not going to pick you unless you have those things. So it depends. Do you want to be a unicorn and do you want to be unstoppable, or do you just want to find a place that is going to value you? I mean, if you show your value, they're going to pick you. You don't need the degree if you're going to go to a company that's willing to give you a chance. But if you want to make your chances better and you want to make the opportunity easier, then it definitely makes a huge difference. I did not get Security Plus. I've taken Security Plus 3 times, and I'm gonna take it again next month. Just because I bought the voucher and I want it. So annoying. I messed up. I took the old version, and then the second time I took the new version, and the third time I took the old version, so I forgot what it was about the first time because they were like a year apart. So it's I don't even know. Like I
Fingers
said,
crossed.
I don't like the way it's worded, and I don't have the brain
Me too.
capacity to learn something new. And but I want two certifications for myself, and I want a master's degree for myself. That is my value to my body that I want. It's not needed for my degree. I'm already working, or it's not needed for my job. Like I'm already working. I already have the experience. I hope I don't leave them anytime soon, because I do love where I'm at. So like that's really the black and white of the situation. Is it depends.
Yeah. And oh man, I do really hate those CompTIA questions. They're like so messing with your brain there.
I know, and I wish I could just read in between, but that's just not how my brain works. Like I
Yeah.
just be straightforward. Ask me if I know what the CIA triad is.
Yeah.
Like why do you need to know? Like 'cause it's so hard.
Why do
And
you need to
it
make the
shouldn't
mind
be.
games there?
Yeah. Like why are you making it so hard? Because you could just ask me if I know it. It matters that you know it. It doesn't freaking matter whether or not I know like what you want me to know. Like it matters that you know the stuff. Do you know the stuff or do you want to play a game? Like this is not a playground. We're not playing a game.
Yeah. Okay, so last two questions. What is your favorite hacker movie and what is your favorite food and dish?
I love all food. Hacker movies. So I watched part of Mr. Robot and I wanted to finish it. But I have not. I haven't got there yet. But I think that was like it really shows you how good people can really get into their brain, and how it can make you crazy if you let it, which is why it's important to balance. I think it gives you a real good perspective as to what it really looks like and how the cyber person is taught and like how they're like valued, you know? Because you're in a company and you're just a chair. And it's like you have all these skills that the company depends on.
Yeah.
So,
So okay, we are at the end. No more questions. I did have a few more, but I think that I asked all the most important ones. So do you have something that you wanted to say at the end to everyone?
I am just rooting for you guys. I am here to help. I am hoping the world gets easier, but I think we're in here for the long run of tough stuff. But you got to find your happiness because it's out there. And don't sit with your sadness too long.
Yeah, I do believe like if it's like I have this yeah. Okay, I created this habit for myself that when things were like really tough, that I promised to myself to schedule at least 30 minutes of the thing that I love doing, like that sparks joy for me, that makes me happy. So that's cycling to me. So uh, that really makes me, yeah, like creates the good hormones,
You
like good.
Yeah, you have unlocked a specific level of intelligence, of emotional intelligence, that a lot of people forget to value. And you're one of the very few people that understand, like, yes, you can retrain your brain
Yeah,
and you can teach yourself to be a specific. I tell people that all the time because I have a high level of emotional intelligence based on the trauma I've been in. I've decided that's not who I want to be. I can cry about it or I can do something about it. And there's not a lot of people that are willing to do that. And that is like a secret major skill because you can be negative and it takes a lot of extra work to give good. Like you have to give good in order to be good. Like my husband's like, "Why are you doing that?" Or like when he's in a low spot, he doesn't want to be positive. And it's like, you could sit there in the low spot, but don't stay there. You can have a bad day, but you can't have a bad week unless you want to have a bad week. And a lot of people forget that, like cuz it requires work and you don't have the energy to give work, but you have to commit to it.
yeah, and you have to like take like a perspective, like maybe you zoom out of the like the things that
It's
you're
not
going
about you.
through.
Yeah.
And it's not about you, but also like it's not a bad life, you know. Maybe it's a bad week or maybe
Bad
it's a
day.
bad day, but not a bad life. So zoom out and like appreciate the things that are really like important and yeah, make you proud of yourself. Okay,
It
so I
goes
will.
into it goes into those comments we were talking about earlier, how like you will have 10 comments. You could have 10 bad parts of your day, but those 10 parts can each have a benefit if you look at
Yeah. So like also like and that's why I'm putting the growth mindset. So everything in life that we can learn something from, even from mistakes or even from I don't know, whatever happens to you. I always try to, I used to have like very dark glasses on, but now I have pink glasses on. So, and if anything like fucked up happens to me, I start to find something, even like the tiniest thing that is positive about this situation, and I just focus on this tiny thing, and I don't take it personally anymore, and it's like lighter on my shoulders as well. So
Yeah.
you can absolutely retrain your brain and like focus on the good parts of life and like start noticing what is beautiful outside. Look, maybe if you're tired and you look in the sidewalk and the sidewalk is broken and dirty and like there's like trash and you know maybe dog shit in there. But if then your life, if you focus only on that, then your life doesn't look beautiful. But if you look at the sky and beautiful trees and like the birds there,
Yeah.
so you already can see like a different perspective. Like, oh, this is like actually amazing. Or if you fly I have like this example also
I
in my
sleep
head
like
that
a baby.
you know. So if you, I live in Poland, so we don't have a lot of sun sometimes here, like during, like, for example, winter. So, but then when you fly over to somewhere and you are above the clouds, and above the clouds, the sky is beautiful. It's perfect. It's blue. It's sunny. It's like heaven, you know. So you have to have this perspective that life doesn't suck all the way. You have the good parts,
Yes.
and you just have to endure the bad parts. And the good part is just like around the corner, and you just have to get there and not give up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I'm saying that don't give up.
Anxiety will, yeah, anxiety will trap you. It'll put you in a bottle and it'll never let you out if you let it. I mean, I don't stop. I literally just keep going and I don't sit with the sadness. Like, when I got on the plane, I just flew for the first time in December. And I had to fly again in February. February I was by myself, and I was like, "Oh my god, what did I do?" And I could have made it a whole thing because I didn't get to sit by the window, and coming home I didn't get to sit by the window, and I had all kinds of stuff from the conference, like, or a CKO. And so, like, even though there was little kids around me and they were screaming, I like pulled the toys out and gave it to the kids, and they were like, "That lady is so nice." And everybody on like the flight by me, they're like, "She gave them her toys." I'm like, "Yeah, as long as they give them back, we're good." My boys were waiting for them.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really happy that I invited you. Thank you for coming to my stream. And
Yes.
you're an amazing person. I just wanted to say that out loud. I hope you know that. And yeah, you're an amazing person. And I think we need more people like you in this world that like bring light and kindness into this gloomy world. Like it's sometimes it's super hard, but if there's like a lot of like kind people around us, then it makes it kind of worth it. And yeah, like you can wake up in the morning and think, oh, today I'm meeting with Nicole, and like she's so amazing. So okay, so I just want to wrap up and like give you time to rest. I already took a lot of your time, and so thank you again, and let's wave to say bye. Bye.
Thank you. It was great meeting you, and I appreciate